Hi, my name is Hillary Daniels. I'm the special education teacher in a Denver Public School District, and I've enjoyed getting to know Gemma, and I really appreciate you allowing me to work with her. She is very shy at first, but once you get to know her, she gets quite chatty. Um, she is very friendly and very cooperative. I reviewed her current records, including her most recent evaluation, which was conducted in May of 2016 during her initial evaluation. At that time, they were determining eligibility for special education services. She was administered the Wexler Individual Achievement Test, third edition, the Wyatt 3, individually within the school setting by a special education teacher. The Wyatt 3 is designed to assess a student's reading, math, and written expression. So let's just jump right in and look at her scores. So on the Wyatt, her scores were based on several subtests. Listening comprehension was when she was asked to listen to passages and answer questions about each one. Her standard score was 103. She was ranked in the 53rd percentile, and this is considered in the average range. She scored at or better than 53% of her peers. The oral expression subtest requires her to just repeat sentences that are dictated to her. Her standard score was an 86, which is considered in the average range. Her percentile rank was 18 percentile, which means that she was at or above 18% of her peers. She was also administered the early reading skills subtest. Her score on this test was 77, placing her in the below average category and in the 6th percentile, meaning she did at or better than 6% of her peers. Reading comprehension was also assessed. She scored a standard score of 101, which is in the average range, and she was in the 53rd percentile, meaning she was at or above 53% of her peers. The reading comprehension subtest required her to read passages silently or out loud and then answer questions about each one. She was also given a word reading subtest, which required her to read a list of increasingly complex words. She scored a 65, which is considered in the low range, and she was in the 1st percentile, meaning she was at or better than 1% of her peers. Similar to the word reading, she was given a pseudo word reading task. She was asked to read an increasingly difficult list of nonsense words. Her score was 79, placing her in the below average category, and she was in the 8th percentile. She scored at or better than 8% of her peers. Gemma was also given an oral reading fluency subtest in which she was asked to read passages out loud and then answer comprehension questions. She scored a 58, which is considered low, and she scored in the 0.3 percentile. She was given a spelling subtest, which she was just asked to write words that were dictated to her. Sentences were used to ensure that she heard the word correctly. She scored a 77, which is considered below average, and placing her in the 6th percentile. She was given a math problem solving subtest in which she was given untimed math problems related to basic skills such as counting, shapes, all the way to real life applications such as using time, money, answering word problems, etc. She scored a 74, which is below average, placing her in the 4th percentile. She scored at or above 4% of her peers. She was also administered a math fluency addition subtest and subtraction subtest. On the addition subtest, she was required to answer as many basic addition problems as she could in 1 minute. She scored a 73, which is considered below average, placing her in the 4th percentile. On the subtraction math fluency, she was required to do as many basic subtraction problems as she could in 1 minute. She scored an 85, which is considered average, placing her in the 16th percentile. So we do have some graphs to show some of her overall composites. So her total reading composite is shown here. And right here where we've highlighted the pink, this is considered the average range. Anything below here is in the below average range, and anything below there is the low range. Anything above 115 is considered in the above average range. So Gemma's score on the total reading, which just measures her overall reading ability, placed her in the below average range with a score of 75. Basic reading, which is your phonological awareness skills and basic decoding, placed her in the below average range with a standard score of 72. Reading comprehension and fluency, she scored a 75, which placed her in the below average category. Overall mathematics, which includes numerical operations as well as math problem solving, she scored a 75, which is also considered in the below average range. For math fluency, which is just being able to do basic math problems as quickly as possible, she scored a 77, also placing her in the below average range. Overall, Gemma demonstrated some academic strengths as well as some academic weaknesses. Strengths included listening comprehension, oral expression, as well as subtraction math fluency. She scored in the low range for word reading and oral reading fluency. These scores negatively impacted her overall reading composite. Additionally, she demonstrated gaps in basic reading skills, which will impact her ability to decode grade level texts. Gemma would benefit from explicit instruction with decoding strategies such as the syllabication method. Gemma was also assessed using the wide range assessment of visual motor abilities. This assessment is standardized and measures visual motor skills. The visual motor test required Gemma to copy various forms or images presented to her. She scored a standard score of 99, placing her in the 47th percentile. Her score is considered in the average range. The visual spatial test required Gemma to match various shapes and forms. She scored an 83, which is just below average, and she was in the 13th percentile. The fine motor test required Gemma to put pegs into a pegboard as fast as she could, and as many as she could in 1 minute. She scored a 72, which is considered below average, placing her in the 3rd percentile. Given her score on the fine motor test, she's going to require additional effort in order to write down her thoughts and ideas. Difficulties in this area may impact her ability to demonstrate knowledge and ideas in writing. Given her current deficits with reading, math, and written expression, she continues to be eligible for special education and related services as a student with a specific learning disability in reading, math, and written expression.